Because he said he's splitting at 18. It's breakfast.
You all take coffee, right? You all take coffee, right?
Yeah, sure.
So,
Taking care of us. We should do work and get every day.
Progress.
Morning and welcome to this Great Lakes Youth Network for Dialogue and Peace. Today is the virtual project launch of this program, and I'm your host today, Raymond Mujuni, and I'll be reading you just very shortly what our program for the day will look like and what we'll be engaging with. For those of you that have joined us, thank you so much for being tuned to this Zoom call. Do invite more of your people to join this Zoom call and join in as participants. We have a fully packed program from now up until 12:30 today when the session ends. Now we'll start today with welcome remarks, which will come from our key partners from CAS, from Leo Africa Institute, from the European Union, and we will have a short presentation from the Deputy Lord Mayor of the Kampala Capital City Authority, Doreen Nyanjura. We will thereafter have a project presentation of what this project is about and just which people will be involved in it. And that will be done by Benno Makla, who is the project director. And after that, we will have a short Q&A from you, the participants, asking questions about what this project will do, who will cover, who it will cover, which people, who are its stakeholders, and what will those stakeholders be doing in each part of this project. And thereafter, we'll have a short commercial break with a poem from one of my favorite poets, Nzen Subuga. After that, we will then have a short panel conversation, and after the panel conversation, we'll call it a day for now. But thank you so much for joining in. For those of you that are tuned to the call, just a few of the house rules that you need to know. If you're not talking, please mute your microphone, and very, very likely also keep your videos off at least until when you are allowed to speak into the Zoom call. We'll have participation from everyone in the public. We'll be able to notice you and pick you up in case we are taking any questions. But for now, I want us to start our program today by asking Anna Riesman, who is from the Konrad Adenauer Stiftung Foundation, to give us a few of her opening remarks.
Good morning. Good morning to everyone. Good morning, Raymond. Thank you very much for introducing me. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning to everyone who is following us online today. And a special thank you to the Youth Member of Parliament, Honorable Edson Rogomayo, to the Deputy Lord Mayor of Kampala, Madame Doreen Nyanjura, to Madame Sylvia Parmer, Youth Officer at the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development, to the Operations Advisor on Civil Society and Social Development at the EU Delegation to Uganda, Ms. Elizabeth Ongom, and to Jacob Ayoro, Chairperson of the National Youth Council, a long-standing partner of the Konrad Adenauer Stiftung in Uganda and South Sudan, who all have joined us today for the launch of our new projects. Thank you very much for your interest. And of course, last but not least, thank you to our partners and our own CAS colleagues in the region for your ideas, for your creativity and your dedication to bring this project to life. My name is Anna Riesman and I'm the country representative of the Konrad Adenauer Stiftung Uganda and South Sudan. And together with 5 partners from the Great Lakes region and 2 of them from Uganda, the Leo African Institute and Cornerstone Development Africa, we have joined our forces to empower the youth of the region. 5,000 years. Yes, I'm not joking. 5,000 years, that is how far back you can trace the judgments about the youth on a clay board of a Sumerian around 3000 BC. And who has not heard of the Babylonian inscription that reads, "Today's youth is rotten, evil, godless, and lazy. It will never be what youth used to be, and it will never be able to preserve our culture." Well, 5,000 years later, and having this virtual launch today, I'm sure the mankind has learned that this seemingly never-ending pattern is just false. And there is no proof and no evidence of the decay of humanity so far. And we, who we have joined this project, we are convinced of exactly the opposite. We are convinced that the youth is the major source and guarantor for stability, for peace, for lasting development, innovation, and social cohesion. And this is, of course, also true in the Great Lakes region that has been characterized by several conflicts for a long time and is today one of the youngest and fastest growing regions in the world. Great Lakes Youth Network for Dialogue and Peace. Our diversity is our opportunity. This is the name of our project, and this is what we truly all believe in. And our goal is to empower the virtuous, yes, the active and energetic youth of today, because we believe that this is the power to not only preserve what is good, to overcome what is not, but more importantly, to build a better. And our role is just the one of the facilitator, to assist these young women and men in their ambitions, in their aspirations, to strengthen their voices so that they are heard and listened to, and to bring them together to make them more powerful and more impactful. And we will be very grateful for your support to make our vision a success story. Thank you very much again, all of you, for joining us today, for your participation and your contributions. And we truly count on you in the course of the entire project. Thank you very much. And now to you, dear Owl.
Yes, hello. Good morning, Anna. Good morning, everybody. Greetings from the Leo Africa Institute. I should first start off by thanking all our strategic partners and everybody who's made time to, to join us and share some of their insights and wisdom. Silva Palmer from the Ministry of Gender and Social Development. Thank you so much for joining us. Elizabeth Ochom, the Operations Advisor on Civil Society and Social Development at the European Union. And of course, Anna and Benno from the Konrad Adenauer Stiftung, whom we greatly appreciate as partners and who've been involved with for a very long time over the last 10 years. I should also welcome our representatives from the Cornerstone Development Africa, Poly Institute, Vision Jeunesse Nouvelle, the Actions for Democracy and Local Government, our project partners who we are working with to make this project a reality. Also, a warm welcome to Jacob Eyeru, the chairperson from the National Youth Council, a great friend of the Institute, but also a personal friend. And of course, Doreen Nyandura, whom we're very proud of, the deputy mayor at the Kampala City Authority. So I'm very pleased to deliver the opening remarks on behalf of the Leo Africa Institute at this virtual launch of our project, the Great Lakes Youth Network for Dialogue and Peace. I would like to thank our partners, CAS and the European Union, with whom we have worked over the last 1 year to bring this new initiative to life. And a special recognition goes to the Uganda Project Coordination Team at the Leo Africa Institute and Cornerstone Development Africa for putting this event together to launch the project. As we all know, for many years, the Great Lakes sub-region has been a region in crisis. Some of Africa's worst conflicts and humanitarian disasters have taken place in our region. Yet ours is also the region with the most potential, with a combined population of almost 228 million people, more than 60% of whom are under the age of 24 years. The potential for youth as agents of positive change, peace, innovation, and social cohesion in the DRC, Rwanda, Tanzania, Uganda is undoubted. Such immense potential is what inspired the foundation for the Leo Africa, the foundation of the Leo Africa Institute almost 10 years ago when we founded it. And it has driven us to invest in shaping the next generation of values-based leaders across the Great Lakes region and beyond. So through this new initiative with the Konrad Adenauer Stiftung and the European Union and other like-minded partners across our region, we hope over the next 3 years to highlight and support youth initiatives that are doing important work around challenges that pose threats to peace in the region if left unresolved. And these, not limited to gender equality, climate change, political representation, economic stability, employment, media, education, culture, and forced migration. So with these remarks, I'd like to wish all of us good deliberations and look forward to working with all our stakeholders and everybody who is joining us today to making sure that we make this a great success. Thank you, and back to you, Raymond.
Thank you so much, Awel, for those opening remarks. I now want to call on Eric Kreter from the Cornerstone Development for Africa to give us his opening remarks.
Yeah, thank you very much, and good morning, everyone. My name is Eric Kreuter. I work with Cornerstone Development Africa, a youth leadership development NGO working across the Great Lakes region. We have a lot of experience in this region. Since the 1980s, we've been working with many high potential emerging leaders through various programs, ranging from running A-level residential leadership academies to leadership and peace building clubs at the high school and university levels to many different youth mentoring initiatives. Our alumni are now doing great things across the region, and we're seeing them inspiring, influencing, and impacting in many sectors. Yet there are many obstacles and challenges they face as they go. And that is part of the reason we're excited to be part of this project, the Great Lakes Youth Network for Dialogue and Peace. We really do believe in the need to build a broader network of change makers and peace builders in this part of the world that can help equip talented emerging leaders like our own and the many others out there with resources and relationships to work together towards greater success in their initiatives. Thank you, Cass, for leading on this project and working with the European Union to secure the funding, and thank you all of the other implementing partners and stakeholders for your willingness to work together on this. Have a great day.
Thank you so much, Eric, for those opening remarks. I now want to call upon the EU delegation in Uganda representative, Elizabeth Ongom, to make her opening remarks. Do we have Elizabeth on the call?
Raymond, we don't seem to be having her on the call. Or is she on?
Okay, we'll have a chance to get back to Elizabeth Ongom as we try and work out the technical difficulties on her end. But in the meantime, I want to call upon the Deputy Lord Mayor of the Kampala Capital City Authority. Oh, Elizabeth, there we are, we have you. So let's just take opening remarks from you, Elizabeth Ongom, and then we could introduce the Deputy Lord Mayor after that.
Hi, I'm sorry I'm late. I hope
You're
you
welcome.
can hear me loud and clear.
Yes.
Because I had promised to probably join by 9:30. Yes. Thank you for having us on the call. First of all, I want to bring greetings from the EU delegation in Kampala. They were particularly glad to hear that one of us will participate in this meeting. Unfortunately, none of my hierarchy was available at this particular point, but at least for us, the technical officers are here. I had mentioned that I would share with you very briefly what the EU delegation will be, you know, some of the activities that will be undertaken with young people. I think it's useful for us to share this at this point in time, instead of giving you a very formal speech, because as you might be aware, the EU delegation is in the process of preparing for the next 7 years. The core priorities have already been identified. And as we speak now, we are actually waiting for headquarters-based approval before we can actually continue with you know, detailing out the programs and the real activities that will actually be undertaken with young people. First of all, I need to emphasize that our headquarters, one of the top priorities for our headquarters, which has actually been passed on to us delegations, is the topic of youth or youth engagement in whatever form that takes. And this is so important that actually we delegations have been required now to actually have very formalized ways of ensuring that we engage young people, both young men and young women, through what you can call youth sounding boards, which have like about 20, 25 young people from different sectors coming together to ensure that youth issues are streamlined, are fully taken on board, and that the EU is actually listening to the youth voices at the country level. So we as the delegation are actually in the process of setting up this youth sounding board, and we shall work very closely with young people like yourselves and others, including the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development, to ensure that our youth sounding board is representative and that we can actually catch voices not only from urban Uganda, but also from rural Uganda and from the cross spectrum of young people, those that are 15 years and those that are 30. So that's the first thing, the youth engagement. What I also need to mention is that as it stands now, we also have activities that are ongoing for young people. We've been heavy on the ground in terms of youth skilling, youth employment related activities, more specifically in the regions of northern, northwest, and northeastern Uganda. These activities are going on, and they probably will go on for the next maybe 1 to 2 years. Most of the EU big programs, including the Development Initiative for Northern Uganda, DGF, the Civil Society in Uganda Support Program, have very specific initiatives and very specific envelopes that they will actually use to ensure that young people are engaged. And we also, from our side, are ensuring that every quarterly report is able to illustrate that young people have benefited directly, whether it's in the form of grants to young people's organizations, or it's in the form of support to advocacy activities, or support to creating youth spaces, not just in Kampala, but at district level. In fact, our footprints and fingerprints are quite heavy in many parts of rural Uganda, at local government levels, at all the levels, not only at the district level, but even up to the parish levels. Youth dialogues. At the center, we will continue to have this. We have a legacy of having at least 2 what we call structured dialogues, which is a dialogue between civil society and the ambassador. We do have 2 of these every year, and from time to time, we've had a title. We've had to ensure that at least one of these dialogues is talking about young people, or that young people are actually the thematic focus of these dialogues. So I've mentioned, I think, 3 of the key things that we are actually doing. I'm getting a warning here about my internet. I hope you can still pick me. I hope that actually gives a nutshell. But going forward, we are preparing. We haven't yet started writing for the detailed, or unpacking, as I may, for the detailed program interventions. I can't give you a figure. I can't give you an amount of how much will go to young people. At this point in time, the only thing that we know is that youth will be prioritized. The details will come out late in summer, about July, August. Then we can begin already to be talking about actual numbers. But even as we prepare for that, finally, we are just about to roll out what we are calling a youth mapping exercise. This youth mapping exercise will inform our processes, and probably not only us, but also ourselves and our partners on what is going where, what is happening where, pertaining to young people in Uganda. And we are working very closely with the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development to ensure that this has government fully in the buy-in, and that we are not only mapping partners that work for us, let me say it like that, but young people, organizations, initiatives, spaces, etc. We'll try to cover as much of Uganda as possible to ensure that when we actually roll out programs, we have a full understanding of what is happening where. We hope this will actually be done and dusted about October of this year. I hope that sort of gives you a feel of what's happening here. For now, I will stop there and I will allow anyone if you have any questions still. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for those quite remarkable opening remarks that you've given us. And we will be getting back to you later on for any questions that might come from our participants. But I now have the singular pleasure to invite the Deputy Lord Mayor, Doreen Nyanjura, to speak to us and give us her opening remarks.
Thank you very much, Raymond. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, my name is Nyanjura Doreen. Before anything else, Nyanjura is an activist for youth and women's rights, and specifically the downtrodden women. It's out of that activism that I occupy several positions in my country, and one of them being the Deputy Lord Mayor. Ladies and gentlemen, it is with great pleasure that I welcome you to this conference of the young people of our region, the Great Lakes region. I have been a champion for the young people, not only for Uganda, but for the Great Lakes region and Africa at large. I have been at the forefront of fighting for good and peaceful governance in our country, well knowing that a peaceful and well-governed Uganda positively affects the whole region of the Great Lakes. Because if Uganda is peaceful and stable, it is possible to export peace and stability to the rest of the conflicted areas in our region. I'm therefore delighted to meet other young people from the region that are committed to this same cause that must not be abandoned, because it is about our lives and the lives of those that will come after us. And whoever supports us to achieve this cause is a friend of our struggle. I therefore would love to extend my sincere and heartfelt gratitude, first of all, to the organizers of this conference and those who funded it and therefore made it possible to happen. The people of the Great Lakes region have existed for the last hundreds, if not thousands of years. However, it is only in the past 150 years that they have experienced extreme violence and conflict that continues up to today. It is no wonder that in 1899, Joseph Conrad, in his book, Heart of Darkness, described the events of our region as the vilest scramble for loot that ever disfigured the history of human conscience. Today's conflict can therefore be traced in the scramble and partition of Africa and its resources. I will be able to bring into context the origins of the stability and instability during the panel discussion. Ladies and gentlemen, I bring you greetings from the people of Kampala and the Lord Mayor. I'm excited that the EU specifically which has continuously supported Movement in Kampala, is again here supporting a dialogue by the young people of the Great Lakes region. I once again want to congratulate all those that have put their brains and energy to such a beautiful initiative. And I am delighted it has come to maturity and today it is being launched. Congratulations, all of you. Congratulations to Leo Africa Institute and all the partners. I wish you all fruitful deliberations. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Doreen Nyanjura, who is the Deputy Lord Mayor, for those opening remarks and for welcoming us into your city. Now, all of us have been waiting for this moment to find out what does the Great Lakes Youth Network for Dialogue and Peace mean. And I now also have the singular pleasure to invite Benno Makla, who is the project director, to break it down for us in his presentation, after which he will take a couple of questions and concerns from the people on this call. Benno Makla, the floor is now all yours.
Is my microphone working? I have some problems here on my screen, but I think you can hear me well.
Hear you well.
Okay, wonderful. Let me take it again. Your Excellency, Deputy Lord Mayor Nyanjura, dear honorable members of Parliament, dear Ms. Ongom, dear Lydia, dear Kwesi, a warm welcome once again and greetings from my side. I'm greeting you here from our capital in the DRC, Kinshasa, which shines brightly on this beautiful morning. And as the Deputy Lord Mayor mentioned, Joseph Conrad, I can confirm that our heart of Africa shines brightly and is not so dark as sometimes people believe it is. It is a real pleasure to greet you all this morning. And in the coming few minutes, I would like to present you a little bit the history of our project, its logic, the challenges that might lie ahead, and also the things that we want to implement in the coming few years. But let me first again say I'm really grateful to the European Union that we can do this magnificent project with their support. This project is very much in line with the European Union's youth policy within Europe, which is called Connect, Engage, Connect, Empower. And I believe this is also very much true for the countries that we work here in Africa. And it is also very much in line with the EU's new policy with Africa. So it is a great, great pleasure to do this project over the next 3 coming years, and also to know 5 local and very powerful and potential partners on our side in the 4 countries to realize this project. So let me begin with the justification of the project. I'm sure that many of you read over the project outline. And the justification, as you are all familiar with our region, lies very much in the question of stability. Unfortunately, the Great Lakes region today still is one of Africa's most unstable regions, with prevailing animosities and cliches, stereotypes across borders. Unfortunately, we all also know about the very difficult history of our countries, be it the terrible genocide in Rwanda, be it the wars in the Congo, be it things such as the rule of Idi Amin in Uganda, and also conflicts in neighboring areas of Tanzania. So you have this history and the problem on the one side, and therefore also it is not out of reason that the Great Lakes region within the European Union strategy with Africa is explicitly mentioned as one area of priority for the EU. Then on the other side, if you think about how can you contribute to peace in the region, you have the element of youth. Youth itself, as we all know, are positive agents for change. They are agents for positive things that contribute to peace and stability. This is a fact acknowledged by different policies. First and foremost, the UN strategy, the United Nations and peace agenda, but also the EU's, strategies for youth, which I already mentioned. So you have this acknowledgement by many different actors, also the African Union on one side. And then if you look once again back to youth, you also quickly realize how powerful this element of youth for peace is in the region. And there is something which I always call the magic number in Africa. And the magic number in Africa or in sub-Saharan African countries to me is 60. Why 60? Because 60% of most populations in sub-Saharan Africa are younger than 25 years old. So those are 2/3 of the population, which is also true and which holds also true for the countries that we work in. 60% of the population is younger than 25 years old. So if you can activate those people and if those people decide on the future of their countries, I mean, there is very much the answer to the destiny and also the future years of our African continent. So you have this element of youth on the one side and instability on the other side in our region. And to be honest and to tell you the truth, my motivation or our motivation to do this magnificent project also stems from personal experience. I personally know, at least for the country that I represent, which is the DRC here in Kinshasa, that there are many youth initiatives facing this unstable situation that teamed up, that joined forces and became active in the last coming years. So we have many youth initiatives that are committed to different activities that contribute to peace in the region. It can be many things, and I'm sure that many of you also know youth initiatives that are committed on the local level. It can be things such as contributing to the environment, waste management in your local community, in your neighborhood. It can also be things such as working for the betterment of youth employment in your city or in your village. There are many other things that these young people are doing, and oftentimes when I met them, it is quite impressive what these young fellows can already realize despite lack of resources, be it financial resources or organizational capacities. So we have an abundance of youth initiatives in the region, and as I already mentioned and outlined, oftentimes they face numerous problems, not only the instability in their countries, but also material problems such as a lack of organizational capacities. It can be finance, but it can also be network and contacts to other stakeholders and to other youth. So here to slow down a little bit my speech, it was very clear when we designed the project last year early on. It was around early last summer. We were in the midst of COVID crisis. It was very clear already to us that the project that we want to implement will follow a three-pronged approach. And this three-pronged approach is very easy to understand. So the first pillar of our approach to implement this project in the region will be internal capacity management. So the youths that we will select and that we already selected, I will come to this later, we want to support and make them stronger in their internal capacity. It can be things such as how do you run your organization? It can be how can I raise funds to be more sustainable in our financial organization? It can be things such as visibility. It can be things such as monitoring and evaluation. It can also be things such as speech writing or policy papers to lobby for your position and the policies that you would like to see improve. So this is the internal capacity management that we foresee in the first pillar of the project. In the second pillar of our project, we want to foster and create exchange and dialogue among these youths, because this is the powerful element of our project, the Great Lakes Youth Network for Dialogue and Peace, because it is a project which takes place in 4 countries. And it would be a pity and very sad if we only think in national contexts. No, we see the need and the necessity and the importance to create exchange and dialogue among those youths across borders. So we want to see the youth of Rwanda, the Congo, Uganda, and Tanzania exchange, meet, and talk. Exchange means transfer of knowledge, and dialogue, as I mentioned already, the prevailing animosities, unfortunately, sometimes in the countries that we work in, like meeting each other, talking to other face to face, helps and contributes to doing away with those stereotypes that sometimes, unfortunately, often prevail. What I can say, I think sometimes I believe youth is less the problem than our local communities in neighboring areas. It is also a problem of education. But so, as I said before, I see always youth more as the positive agent for change. So they're like spearheading the change that they want to bring about in their communities. This is the second pillar, and it's also, I mean, there it might be too anecdotal, but let me say, I mean, this is also a shared experience and memory that we have in Europe, or at least between two friendly countries today, which were divided by war for many years, which are France and Germany. And you all know about the history that we have after the Second World War in creating also an organization for youth in Germany and France. And by this, by today, this is institutionalized. This is a success story. Sometimes today we have the problem to reinvent ourselves because it is so much understood that our two countries are very close with each other. And this might be something, hopefully, that we see in the next 50 or 60 years. But yeah, it's early days. So, but now I make a period and a full stop under this anecdote. Coming now to the third pillar of our project, and this is also very important, as important as the other two pillars. It is what we call the network. Not only the network among the youth initiatives, but also with other stakeholders. And let me say clearly, and that is why I'm very happy to have her Deputy Lord Mayor with us and also many other stakeholders. This project that we want to implement can only succeed if we have all stakeholders on board. Stakeholders, national and international stakeholders in politics, in business, in development, in civil society, the media, academia. We will only succeed if we have all of you on board. And when we designed the project last year, and we have to always, in development, you always have to be careful, especially if you are an international organization or an international NGO, you always have to be careful with the word establish, because bringing new elements to a foreign context should at least respect the local context. So when we designed the project last year, it was very important to us to first analyze what are the youth policies in place, what are the institutions in place. All the 4 countries that we work in today, they already have their proper youth council. All the national governments, of course, have their national policies for promoting youth in different sectors. So it is very important to us to have all the governments of the nation states, but also the sub-regional actors such as COMESA, the African Union, on a more international level, but also SADC, EAC, and others on board. We want to work with the members of parliament, not only in the national governments, in the national assemblies, I'm sorry, but also on the provincial and the regional level. And of course, we want to work with civil society, with potential employers, with researchers at local universities who do magnificent research already and are very, very experienced and specialized in the sector of youth. So this is a common project that we want to establish with the Youth Network for Dialogue and Peace in the Great Lakes region. What will the stakeholder meetings or the network, what will they do? Now, if you think about the project and now what you could hear from my words already, it is very much a political project because we want to make the voice of youth stronger in decision-making processes. And now some of you might think, oh, okay, youth always is so idealist. They have new ideas, they want to bring them in. And sometimes they are, I do not want to use the word ignorant because that's not the fact, but sometimes they might be a little bit too passionate in what they want to achieve. And this is normal because that's the nature of youth. So those exchanges with stakeholders are also so important because that's where, for me, also change, politics, and democracy itself begins. idealism, when you go into politics, idealism always has to meet realism, reality. So this is also a way of exposing youth initiatives to reality and see where can find themselves and where they can engage, and how the things that they want to achieve also match with reality. It is also, of course, a chance for the other stakeholders to meet youth initiatives. Sometimes I'm working now for some time in development, and I know that, for example, development agency or other players, also local NGOs, sometimes we're searching for good and potential partners in our work, and youth is only one sector. So the network, ideally, as we see it, also helps finding and identifying partners in youth work, in the work that we want to establish and that we want to support in the region. Yes, so now I'm already a little bit long in my speech, but I also want to bring about some other things. So when we designed the project last year in summer, I think the first 3 keywords that came to my mind or to our minds when we saw the call by the European Union were order, bringing order and structure and the abundance of youth initiatives in the region, mapping, identifying the strong and established youth initiatives, because we want to work with those who are already very much experienced, who have a certain track and success record in their work. And then the third keyword, but that I already talked about, was the network, because this is something that we want to establish. And now I use the word establish again, because this is our vision, this is our objective. Ideally, in our objective and our vision after those 3 years, we want to have the Great Lakes Youth Network for Dialogue and Peace established in the region as a household name, as a reference point, as a reference project, as a place where you can go find potential partners, exchange about youth policy and policy in general, because, as I said, 60% of the population are younger than 25 years old. So the say that the young generation has in the region is quite big, and representatively, it should also have more weight than it has today. Now, how do you go about like those keywords that I mentioned? I mean, those were question marks behind those keywords, order and mapping, because of course for us the challenge was to identify and first find those initiatives. We have, of course, networks, we have experience in our work, but we heavily rely on the local expertise of our local partners in the countries where we work. So when we designed the project last year, how did we go about it? How did we try to pitch our proposal and to make sure that we can actually achieve what we had in mind by then? I'm happy that I work for an organization which has today offices in more than 120 countries. Konrad Adenauer Stiftung, Konrad Adenauer Foundation today has 18 programs alone in sub-Saharan Africa. So we are not always known, but we are quite big. And very experienced in what we do, and not seldomly, especially in Africa, when it comes to the sector of youth. So Konrad Adenauer Foundation, I represent our office here in Kinshasa in DR Congo. We first teamed up together, with our offices in Uganda, Kampala. So once again, warm welcome to this beautiful city, which I also know quite well. And also we teamed up with our office in Dar es Salaam in Tanzania. So 3 CAS offices teamed up again. What happened then? Of course, we, as I said, rely on local partners, and we are very happy. I am very happy, as I said, to have 5 very potential, very powerful, and very experienced in their different sectors partners on our side. And I use the opportunity once again, even though they presented themselves and introduced themselves already at the beginning. I'm very happy to have Pole Institute and the DR Congo on our side with Nene Mauricio. I'm very happy to have Leo Africa Institute on our side with Kwesi Tabaro and colleagues. Thanks for organizing this conference today. This goes also for Cornerstone Development with Lydia Bugero, our national coordinator there, and also the colleagues Jimmy Luhende of ADLG in Tanzania, and of course Vision Jeunesse Nouvelle avec Jean-Claude Twahira in Rwanda in Gisenyi. I also greet and thank very much again my dear CAS colleagues, Anna Reisman, the head of our Uganda office, and also Tilman Feltes, our head of our Tanzania office. It is a big pleasure for me to work with you on this project. And I also want to thank again our support in our backstopping offices in Berlin and Brussels. And as you can already see by the sheer amount of people that I just mentioned, that this project has quite a big scale. It has a big magnitude, and it is also a challenge for us as Konrad Adenauer Foundation to implement this project. It is a project that takes place in the 4 countries that I already mentioned: Rwanda, Uganda, DRC, and Uganda. More specifically, our project regions are 4 provinces in the DRC. Those are the neighboring provinces in Eastern DRC, which are Ituri, Tanganyika, and certainly the 2 Kivus, North and South Kivus. We have the provinces, the regions, I'm sorry, in Uganda, Western and Central region. We have the entire country of Rwanda, as Rwanda lies in the middle, and we have the 4 northern regions of provinces, I'm sorry, of Tanzania: Mwanza, Kagera, Geita, and Kigoma. Now I got them all together. So this is the scale, this is the project region. It has a population of 52 million people, and you can plan many things ahead, but not everything. I mean, when we designed the project last years, as I told you, we were in the midst of the COVID pandemic. COVID is also, unfortunately, the reason why we only see each other today here digitally. But I think at least we have now developed over the course of the last year quite some routine in going about this COVID pandemic. But I can say it is very, yeah, how can I put it? It is very unfortunate, and it's very sad from my point of view that we can still not have the personal meetings and exchanges that we are used to and that we want to have, and that we are all convinced are, yeah, I mean, at the heart of our activities. Digital is only so good. So challenges you can plan, you can foresee, you can try to predict. Insecurity is another big challenge to us for implementing the project, but there are also things, of course, that you cannot predict. And when I heard the news that there is a volcano in Goma, where our regional project office is located, erupted again, those are things that make this project even more challenging. So planning ahead is only is only so much possible. But I'm very happy that our colleagues, our project partner in Goma, Pole Institute, the colleagues are safe and fine, and I think most of them could return to the regional project office. And this also goes for our CAS staff in Goma at the regional office. And this is now the opportunity to also introduce you to some more important persons to this project. So we have 3 CAS staff there: our project assistant, Ms. Rehema, our project accountant, Ms. Bahati, and I'm also very much happy to introduce you today to our project manager, Ms. Mariamu Aganze. Ms. Mariamu Aganze is very experienced in the sector of youth work. Before joining our project, she worked and led and was in charge of a project with the Nobel Peace Prize winning World Food Program in South Kivu. So once again, warm welcome, Mariamu. I'm very happy to have you on board for this project and to have you on board as our focal person to implement this project in the 4 project countries. And yes, if you like, I could give you now the opportunity to go through the activities that we want to foresee, if this is possible technically to open her mic. If not, I can also give you a quick overview, because I'm already too long about the activities that we want to implement over the next 3 years. I'm looking over to the moderator, and he looks down on his microphone. But if it is possible to have Mariamu, it would be nice to introduce her. She will be also on the panel later on, but maybe she can have a chance to also say a quick word.
Thank you so much, Benno. Let me find out if Mariamu is on the call. Mariamu, if you're on the call, it would be nice to have you. But also, Benno, would had at least 4 national coordinators for this project. It would be nice if you could also introduce them so that the people on the call can get to know who they are and the areas where they're working from. Your microphone is still muted, Benno.
Yes, okay, I try once again. I said I was coming to this. I already mentioned our partners, but I'm very happy to do it again. Jean-Claude Twahira, our national coordinator with Vision Jeunesse Nouvelle in Rwanda and Gisenyi, Nene Morisho and Isaac Muchele as our national coordinators with Polar Institute and Goma, Kwesi Tabaro with Leo Africa Institute in Kampala, Uganda. Also another national coordinator, as we have the power of Uganda institutionalized with 2 local partners, Cornerstone Development, represented by Lydia Bogero as our national coordinator for Cornerstone, and of course also Jimmy Luhende with ADLG as our national coordinator in Tanzania. So as I said, a big amount of people working on this project to support and identify and move forward with the youth initiatives in our region. I think it is not possible to open the mic of Mariamu, but she will be on the panel later on. So I just give you a quick overview of the activities that we want to implement over the next 3 years. Those are many, and I also pick a few to give you an idea. When it comes to exchanges between the youth initiatives, we will start with subject-based video calls. This is due to the size of our region, but this is also due to the COVID pandemic. So we will organize the youth initiatives per sector. So those who work, for example, in climate change, others who work more in democracy, local representation, things on sectors such as mining, or also gender. Those we will convene and organize in groups to have a cross-border exchange, plan also activities ahead, talk about challenges that they might face locally, and maybe also find together solutions. We will have radio programs organized by our local youth initiatives to highlight and raise youth policies, the need for more implication of youth in decision-making processes. We will have, of course, capacity trainings on national, but also on regional levels for our selected youth initiatives. We will have summer schools, and I underline the word school because it is not only an exchange, but also an occasion to learn from others and learn from our trainers. We will have 3 summer schools over the course of the project in our different project countries. We will have regional stakeholder events, as I already mentioned at the beginning, where we want to have dialogue and exchange with stakeholders in politics, members of parliament from the provincial, the national level, of course, also representatives of business and economy, but also civil society, development, the media, academia, and many others, to have an exchange here, to build context, to build a network, vice versa. And we will also have, as another activity, gender equality discussions. Gender is important to us in general. It is a cross-cutting issue to us for this project. We are in the process of having a study done on gender equality in the region. So this we will always raise and discuss and highlight in the activities that we do, the need for more gender balance, more gender equality in the work that we do. I did not, and I'm coming already to the end, but I did not come across with the news because that is the most recent development. in our project, which started already in February. So we started with our inception phase already some few weeks ago. But the latest development of our project is that we selected the first batch of youth initiatives. And in total, we want to select over the 3 years, ideally 100 youth initiatives in total in the 4 countries, divided by 4. As you can quickly find out, this will make 25 initiatives per countries. Right now, we have selected, if I'm not mistaken, 83 initiatives. So we selected a few more because the quality was quite good already in the first application period. And I can say that the application numbers that we had, from the top of my head, it was close to 500. So it was quite challenging to identifying and select the best among them, but we did so. We have notified them. And now I can say from the discussions that we have with our partners among each other, we are all very anxious to start finally with our activities and to meet those young colleagues and to start work with them. I think I make a full stop here, saying that this project is not only a challenge, but also a big pleasure. For us, for me personally, as we designed it, I think it can fill an important gap in things, in projects that want to contribute to youth policy and improving youth policy and improving youth engagement in the region. I think if we succeed, if we are successful in implementing our project that we have in mind, it can be a reference project beyond the scope of the Great Lakes region. It is our answer to many initiatives, to many projects in youth development. And now I make a political statement. It is also our request to our partners that we want to have on board the stakeholders that are all dedicated to youth policies. It is our request to them to also get in touch with us, to get on board and meet us and work together to realize and successfully implement this great project. I thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Benno, for that very elaborate presentation on the project. And I know that a couple of people have questions and concerns that have come through the presentation. I just request you to stay on the line a little longer so that we can get some questions from the people that might have any of the questions. So now, if you have a question, you can easily raise your hand on the Zoom call. We'll be able to pick you from the admin, or you could just switch on your video and just signal us if you're ready to ask your question. We'll be able to pick you up from the administrator and you can get to ask your question. But thank you so much, Benno, for this very elaborate presentation, which details the scale and extent of the project and the people that it will impact. But more importantly now, let's ask those that have their questions to ask them. So if you have your question, please, now's the time to ask them.
Yes, good morning, Benno. Thanks for the elaborate remarks. My question is something we've come across a lot in Uganda. Why the focus on central and western Uganda and not northwestern or northern Uganda? Thank you very much.
Benno, did you get that question?
I got that. I thought like we might want to collect first a couple of questions, but I can also already answer that, and maybe in the meantime other people can raise their hands digitally or write in the chat. So thank you very much, Kwesi. I know this was a question in the design of the project, and for us the justification of having only, in quotation marks, the central west, the central region and the western region of Uganda, now defined as our project region, is basically, I mean, those are already very big regions itself, but also for us, they are closer to the Great Lakes project region. And if you think of the Great Lakes region, and now we come back to the definition on the geographical scale, what is the Great Lakes region? If you have a very broad definition of the Great Lakes region, then you have all of a sudden all countries that are partner to the international conference of the Great Lakes, and then you have the entire country of the DRC until its western edge. You also have Angola and other countries on board, which makes this project very broad. But now, like we try to define and make the project region more precise. And if you look now, of course, I know you have unstable regions in Uganda, and I think some of you might now think to its border with South Sudan. This to us it was another question. It was another challenge, but the instability in that neighboring area, for example, would not fit so much this project. That is why we more had the central and western region of Uganda and less the north. That is the explication, and I hope this answers your question.
Thank you so much, Benno, for that answer. I think it's been elaborate. As we're getting more questions, I just wanted to ask also, just briefly, at the end of the 3 years, what kind of impact will you wish to have seen the young people have on the Great Lakes region, just besides decision making?
Yes, thank you very much. Many things. So as I said, first of all, I would like to see established this project as a reference project, as a household name, as I say. I want to have our project in my little mind that the Great Lakes Youth Network for Dialogue and Peace is recognized in the country, in the project region as a household name, as a reference point, as a place, as a platform where you can go to if you are a youth, where you can find colleagues, where you can find ways to get active yourself, get experience, get information. This is one. I also want to see that the youth that we selected are, of course, much stronger in their organizational capacity. This is a question now of the quality of our work, but also a question of monitoring and evaluation, which is also very important to our project. And we have one M&E manager, Leopold Rutingiriva, with our colleagues in Pole Institute on board for this question. But yes, of course, we want to see an improvement in their organizational strength. Of course, we also, but then this is politics. I mean, you can produce a lot of paper with projects or on your own. And then the question, like, what is the realization of this paper material? Of course, we want and will produce a lot of paper. I think it would be good to see a certain extent of lobbying to national and regional stakeholders, where our youth initiatives can make suggestions and recommendations how to improve the national but also regional policies, and see an exchange. I think, as I said, paper is only so good as the realization of the idea, but what would be nice to see would be to have established channels. If channels were existing before, then to have them reinforced, to have more activity ongoing here.
Thank you so much, Benno. We're going to allow for more questions. If you have a question or comment to make on Benno's presentation, please, now's the time, raise your hand or just switch on your video so that the admin can pick you. If we don't have, I could probably ask you my last question, Benno, and then we can get on. The 4 countries that you've chosen do not share uniformity in terms of geography, in terms of a history, and all, neither do they share uniformity in terms of the aspirations of the young people in these countries. What is it about this project that you think will bring a level of uniformity from the young people in the initiatives that they're going to bring to the project?
Yeah, thank you very much, Raymond. Yeah, listen, I mean, it is true. The context and the local context are different, and we need to respect this. This is very important. That's also why we are in the process of having a baseline study being done at the moment to analyze much better the context. Of course, like we have the expertise already of our 5 local partners, but as I believe, I mean, there is many things that also unite the 4 countries. To start with, that they are neighboring countries. They have common history. They are different, but they have common history. Then the youth is united by the will and the desire to change and to contribute to positive change. This is, I mean, youth, they are on the door of adulthood. They are full of energy. They want to build their lives, build their careers, and they want to contribute to change, and they are full of energy and also idealism. So this is something that unites them all in their doing. They want to do good things, and there I think we have a very important uniting factor. And I think, I mean, they are neighboring countries and they are a region. I don't know if someone from Uganda defines itself as a child, as a youth from the Great Lakes region. I think to some extent, yes. Of course, also in Europe, we first think mostly in our national context, but we also feel each other and ourselves as Europeans. And I think but maybe this is a question now for the panel to throw back the ball on your side. I think there is a common identity in the region to be someone from the Great Lakes region. And now last sentence, to me, when I think about the Great Lakes region and when I travel it and when I visit it, to me, it is one of the most vibrant regions that we have in Africa. And not leave all the problems beside, but I mean, the things that you see going on between Rwanda and the DRC on the border, I mean, commerce, trade, people going from one country to another to study and just do impressive things and contribute to exchange and expertise. I mean, this is very impressive. But this holds also true for our other countries between Tanzania and Uganda, and also Uganda and its neighboring countries. So I think this would be my answer, Raymond, to your question.
Thank you so much, Benno. Whilst you are still speaking, there's another question that came through the chat. What is the sustainability plan for the initiatives beyond the project? This has been asked by Sylvia Pimer.
Thank you, Sylvia. You're already looking in the future, and we have to do too, and we do already. Yeah, I mean, what is the sustainability? If it is established, of course, then we need to have a follow-up, and we think about how we can do it. I mean, there are things that you can do it. It would be good to know our 5 local partners and our 3 CAS offices on board for a longer period to continue with this project. I don't know if we can find a way to sustain the Great Lakes Youth Network platform itself. That would be another option. So this is some homework that needs to be done still. But I think the first year of the project will tell more where we can go with the project when it comes to sustainability.
All right, thank you so much, Benno. I don't know if any other questions are there. If Elizabeth has any questions for Benno specifically about this presentation, now's the perfect time to ask them. But if there are no questions, I would like that we take a very short break. And in this short break, we're going to be hearing from one of the Ugandan poets, Nzensubuga, speaking about the aspirations of the young Ugandan here. Of course, after that presentation, we'll have a short break for you to catch a coffee or a tea and water break. And then we'll be back for the next part of this conversation, which is a panel conversation. So we'll take about 25 minutes on a break.
My name is Suga Muhammad, aka Nze. I'm a Luganda writer and performance poet. Once again, I'm here to share with you a poem titled Muvubuka. Yeah, we are going to be having a talk with the youth. I hope you enjoy the poem. Roughly 77% of Uganda's population is below 30 years of age. Oyinza okuguyita omukisa. Ensala eba ekulira ku misinde. Anti emiti emito bajjajja baagera. Emiti ginaggumiza gitya ekibira nga tusiiba tuzannya zzaala n'okusiiba kapapula. Emiti ginaggumiza gitya ekibira nga bye tusikira tubitunda ku layisi kujja ku kibuga kujooga. Amaanyi tulina mangi naye essuubi ttono. Okusoma twasoma naye emirimu mitono. Mu downtown owa degree ne drop out ffenna tuyiriba kyekimu. Olumala emisomo bannaffe balinnya ennyonyi paka Saudi bagamba kisingako okukola obwayaaya naye ng'enjala tekuttidde wano. Naffe abasigalawo okuyiriba tuyiriba kyekimu. Atalina ssente tafumita lindaaza nti obimanyi. Oluusi omusoso gutukutuulamu nnyo mwana. Bodaboda, kusuubula ngatto n'angoye n'emidaala gya capati omwo tusiga ensimbi. Mwatu olumu omuyindi tumutegula naye olulala n'alyoka atutegula. Atega ogumu taliira. Working hard ne working smart tubigatta. Bannaffe bangi beeyiye mu byabufuzi. Abamu ku ffe tuli ba keyboard warriors kusabula misana na kiro naye batugamba okweyiwa ku nguudo. Abavumu beeyongerayo paka mu kalulu basuubiza abantu ensi n'eggulu. Basuubiza abaweddemu essuubi obulamu obutaggwaawo. Olubalonda amatunga baggala. Olubalonda amatunga baggala ababalonze ng'engalo banjala. Omuyala asindika omuyala amusakire bw'aba tannakkuta teba ssuubi. Ensonyi be zikwata baweereza bakaggwa ensonyi wadde n'obukunkumuka tebaweereza. Beesiimye abafunye omukisa okuyiga embeera z'omuzungu. Mwattu tebafuye luzungu basula ntebe. Gye bakomye okuyiga ebimukwatako, gye bakomye okwerabira ebibakwatako, gye mukomye okuyiga ebimukwatako, gye mukomye okwerabira ebibakwatako. Tomanyi ono Nsubuga eyasoma amateeka kati ennaku zino yeeyita N suburbs. Omulembe gwa .com gwe tulimu n'ow'emyaka 3 aseereza. Ono aseereza n'oli aseereza, maama aseereza, taata aseereza, maama aseereza, taata aseereza. YouTube University ne Mr. Google Sir okwo kwe tusiiba tunoonya how to wash my clothes without touching the water. Awo we tutuuse. Tusiiba ku mutimbagano kunoonya ntalo. Amawulire tugasaasaanya okukira abaagasoma. Ku mutimbagano buli omu ssenga. Ku mutimbagano buli omu kkojja. Ku mutimbagano buli omu mugezi. Teweebuunya lwaki endwadde nga stress ne depression zitumazeewo. Bangi ku ffe bafundikira bejjeewo. Eddiini twasoma abamu kate tusuule n'eddalu. Bannaffe mwattu baagifuula mmere kyankya kya misana kyaggulo, kyankya kya misana kyaggulo. Oba akola ddi? Nange simanyi. Oba mukola ddi? Oba ani abasasula? Mb'oyo ali mu ggulu. Naye Katonda ayamba yeeyamba. Eri essomo mulabika mwalibuuka. Abavubuka ffe essuubi ly'enkya. Nkyatuuse okutusuba singa tetuzuukuke. Nkyatuuse okutusuba singa tetwerwaneko. Nkyatuuse okutusuba singa tetunyiikire. Obukyayi tusaanye tubusuule muguluka. Obunafu tusaanye tubwerwaneko. Obusosoze mu mawanga. Eryo bbwa lya munda nze naawe ffe tulina okulirwanisa. Obusosoze mu mawanga eryo bbwa lya munda nze naawe ffe tulina okulirwanyisa. Uganda ey'enkya tejja kunyuma nga tetugirwaniridde. Uganda ey'enkya tejja kunyuma nga tetwerwanyeeko. Agali awamu galuma ennyama. Amaanyi tulina. buli kimu tulina, obusobozi tulina, okusoma twasoma. Lino eggwanga lyaffe, ke kaseera tulirwanirire. Lino eggwanga lyaffe, ebiseera by'omu maaso nabyo byaffe. Lino eggwanga lyaffe, ebiseera by'omu maaso byaffe. Ke kaseera twerwaneko, ke kaseera twetereeze. Ke kaseera twerwaneko, ke kaseera twetereeze. Hi, my name is Zuga Muhammad, aka Nze. I'm a Luganda writer and performance poet. Once again, I'm here to share with you a poem titled Muvubuka. Yeah, we are going to be having a talk with the youth. I hope you enjoy the poem. Roughly 77% of Uganda's population is below 30 years of age. Oyinza okuguyita omukisa. Ensawo eba ekulira ku misinde. Anti emiti emito bajjajja baagera. Emiti ginaggumiza gitya ekibira nga tusiiba tuzannya zaala n'okusiiba kapapula. Emiti ginaggumiza gitya ekibira nga bitusikira tubitunda ku layisi kujja ku kibuga kujooga. Amaanyi tulina mangi naye essuubi ttono. Okusoma twasoma naye emirimu mitono. Mu downtown owa degree ne drop out ffenna tuyiriba kyekimu. Olumala emisomo bannaffe balinnya ennyonyi paka Saudi. Bagamba kisingako okukola obwayaaya naye ng'enjala tekuttidde wano. Naffe abasigalawo okuyiriba tuyiriba kyekimu. Atalina ssente tafumita lindaaza nti obimanyi. Oluusi omusoso gutukutuulamu nnyo mwana. Bodaboda, kusuubula ngatto n'angoye n'emidaala gya capati omwo tusiga ensimbi. Mwatu olumu omuyindi tumutegula naye olulala n'alyoka atutegula. Ate gwe ogumu taliira. Working hard ne working smart tubigatta. Bannaffe bangi beeyiye mu byabufuzi. Abamu ku ffe tuli ba keyboard warriors, kusabula misana na kiro naye batugamba okweyiwa ku nguudo. Abavumu beeyongerayo paka mu kalulu. Basuubiza abantu ensi n'eggulu. Basuubiza abaweddemu essuubi obulamu obutaggwaawo. Olubalonda amatunga baggala. Olubalonda amatunga baggala. Ababalonze ng'engalo banjala. Omuyala asindika omuyala amusakire. Bw'aba tannakkuta teba ssuubi. Ensonyi be zikwata baweereza bakaggwa ensonyi wadde n'obukunkumuka tebaweereza. Beesiimye abafunye omukisa okuyiga embeera z'omuzungu. Mwattu tebafuye luzungu basula ntebe. Gye bakomye okuyiga ebimukwatako, gye bakomye okwerabira ebibakwatako, gye mukomye okuyiga ebimukwatako, gye mukomye okwerabira ebibakwatako. Tomanyi ono Nsubuga eyasoma amateeka kati ennaku zino yeeyita N. Suburbs. Omulembe gwa .com gwe tulimu n'ow'emyaka 3 aseereza. Ono aseereza n'oli aseereza, maama aseereza, taata aseereza, maama aseereza, taata aseereza. YouTube University ne Mr. Google Sir okwo kwe tusiiba tunoonya how to wash my clothes without touching the water. Awo we tutuuse. Tusiiba ku mutimbagano kunoonya ntalo. Amawulire tugasaasaanya okukira abaagasoma. Ku mutimbagano buli omu ssenga. Ku mutimbagano buli omu kkojja. Ku mutimbagano buli omu mugezi. Teweebuunya lwaki endwadde nga stress ne depression zitumazeewo. Bangi ku ffe bafundikira bejjeewo. Eddiini twasoma abamu kate tusuule n'eddalu. Bannaffe mwattu baagifuula mmere kyankya, kyamisana, kyaggulo, kyankya, kyamisana, kyaggulo. Oba akola ddi? Nange simanyi. Oba mukola ddi? Oba ani abasasula? Mb'oyo ali mu ggulu. Naye Katonda ayamba yeeyamba. Eryo essomo mulabika mwalibuuka. Abavubuka ffe essuubi ly'enkya. Nkyatuuse okutusuba singa tetuzuukuke. Nkyatuuse okutusuba singa tetwerwaneko. Nkyatuuse okutusuba singa tetunyiikire. Obukyayi tusaanye tubusuule mu guluka. Obunafu tusaanye tubwerwaneko. Obusosoze mu mawanga. Eryo bbwa lya munda, nze naawe ffe tulina okulirwanisa. Obusosoze mu mawanga, eryo bbwa lya munda, nze naawe ffe tulina okulirwanyisa. Uganda ey'enkya tejja kunyuma nga tetugirwaniridde. Uganda ey'enkya tejja kunyuma nga tetwerwanyeeko. Agali awamu galuma ennyama. Amaanyi tulina. Buli kimu tulina, obusobozi tulina, okusoma twasoma. Lino eggwanga lyaffe. Ke kaseera tulirwanirire. Lino eggwanga lyaffe, ebiseera by'omu maaso nabyo byaffe. Lino eggwanga lyaffe, ebiseera by'omu maaso byaffe. Ke kaseera twerwaneko. Ke kaseera twetereeze. Ke kaseera twerwaneko. Ke kaseera twetereeze. Hi, my name is Zuga Muhammad, aka Nze. I'm a Luganda writer and performance poet. Once again, I'm here to share with you a poem titled Muvubuka. Yeah, we are going to be having a talk with the youth. I hope you enjoy the poem. Roughly 77% of Uganda's population is below 30 years of age. Oyinza okuguyita omukisa. Ensaka eba ekulira ku misinde. Anti emiti emito bajjajja baagera. Emiti ginaggumiza gitya ekibira nga tusiiba tuzannya zaala na kusiba kapapula. Emiti ginaggumiza gitya ekibira nga bitusikira tubitunda ku layisi kujja ku kibuga kujooga. Amaanyi tulina mangi naye essuubi ttono. Okusoma twasoma naye emirimu mitono. Mu downtown owa degree ne drop out ffenna tuyiriba kyekimu. Olumala emisomo bannaffe balinnya ennyonyi paka Saudi. Bagamba kisingako okukola obwayaaya naye ng'enjala tekuttidde wano. Naffe abasigalawo okuyiriba tuyiriba kyekimu. Atalina ssente tafumita lindaaza nti obimanyi. Oluusi omusoso gutukutuulamu nnyo mwana. Bodaboda, kusuubula ngatto n'angoye n'emidaala gya capati omwo tusiga ensimbi. Mwatu olumu omuyindi tumutegula naye olulala n'alyoka atutegula. Ate gwe ogumu taliira. Working hard ne working smart tubigatta. Bannaffe bangi beeyiye mu byabufuzi. Abamu ku ffe tuli ba keyboard warriors, kusabula misana na kiro naye batugamba okweyiwa ku nguudo. Abavumu beeyongerayo paka mu kalulu. Basuubiza abantu ensi n'eggulu. Basuubiza abaweddemu essuubi obulamu obutaggwaawo. Olubalonda amatunga baggala. Olubalonda amatunga baggala. Ababalonze ng'engalo banjala. Omuyala asindika omuyala amusakire. Bw'aba tannakkuta teba ssuubi. Ensonyi be zikwata baweereza bakaggwa ensonyi wadde n'obukunkumuka tebaweereza. Beesiimye abafunye omukisa okuyiga embeera z'omuzungu. Mwattu tebafuye luzungu basula ntebe. Gye bakomye okuyiga ebimukwatako, gye bakomye okwerabira ebibakwatako, gye mukomye okuyiga ebimukwatako, tomanyi ono Nsubuga eyasoma amateeka kati ennaku zino yeeyita N Sabags. Omulembe gwa .com gwe tulimu n'ow'emyaka 3 aseereza. Ono aseereza n'oli aseereza, maama aseereza, taata aseereza, maama aseereza, taata aseereza. YouTube University ne Mr. Google Sir okwo kwe tusiiba tunoonya. How to wash my clothes. Tusiiba ku mutimbagano kunoonya ntalo. Amawulire tugasaasaanya okukira abaagasoma. Ku mutimbagano buli omu ssenga. Ku mutimbagano buli omu kojja. Ku mutimbagano buli omu mugezi. Teweebuunya lwaki endwadde nga stress ne depression zitumazeewo. Bangi ku ffe bafundikira bejjeewo. Eddiini twasoma abamu kate tusuule n'eddalu. Bannaffe mwattu baagifuula mmere kyankya kya misana kya ggulo, kyankya kya misana kya ggulo. Oba akola ddi? Nange simanyi. Oba mukola ddi? Oba ani abasasula? Mb'oyo ali mu ggulu. Naye Katonda ayamba yeeyamba. Eryo essomo mulabika mwalibuuka. Abavubuka ffe essuubi ly'enkya. Nkyatuuse okutusuba singa tetuzuukuke. Nkyatuuse okutusuba singa tetwerwaneko. Nkyatuuse okutusuba singa tetunyiikire. Obukyayi tusaanye tubusuule muguluka. Obunafu tusaanye tubwerwaneko. Obusosoze mu mawanga. Eryo bbwa lya munda, nze naawe ffe tulina okulirwanisa. Obusosoze mu mawanga, eryo bbwa lya munda, nze naawe ffe tulina okulirwanyisa. Uganda ey'enkya tejja kunyuma nga tetugirwaniridde. Uganda ey'enkya tejja kunyuma nga tetwerwanyeeko. Agali awamu galuma ennyama. Amaanyi tulina. Buli kimu tulina, obusobozi tulina, okusoma twasoma. Lino eggwanga lyaffe. Ke kaseera tulirwanirire. Lino eggwanga lyaffe, ebiseera by'omu maaso nabyo byaffe. Lino eggwanga lyaffe, ebiseera by'omu maaso byaffe. Ke kaseera twerwaneko. Ke kaseera twetereeze. Ke kaseera twerwaneko. Ke kaseera twetereeze. Hi, my name is Zuga Muhammad, aka Nze. I'm a Luganda writer and performance poet. Once again, I'm here to share with you a poem titled Muvubuka. Yeah, we are going to be having a talk with the youth. I hope you enjoy the poem. Roughly 77% of Uganda's population is below 30 years of age. Oyinza okuguyita omukisa. Ensawo eba ekulira ku misinde. Anti emiti emito bajjajja baagera. Emiti ginaggumiza gitya ekibira nga tusiiba tuzannya zaala na kusiba kapapula. Emiti ginaggumiza gitya ekibira nga bitusikira tubitunda ku layisi kujja ku kibuga kujooga. Amaanyi tulina mangi naye essuubi ttono. Okusoma twasoma naye emirimu mitono. Mu downtown owa degree ne drop out ffenna tuyiriba kyekimu. Olumala emisomo bannaffe balinnya ennyonyi paka Saudi. Bagamba kisingako okukola obwayaaya naye ng'enjala tekuttidde wano. Naffe abasigalawo okuyiriba tuyiriba kyekimu. Atalina ssente tafume talindaaza nti obimanyi. Oluusi omusoso gutuulamu nnyo mwana. Bodaboda, kusuubula ngatto n'angoye n'emidaala gya capati omwo tusiga ensimbi. Mwattu olumu omuyindi tumutegula naye olulala n'alyoka atutegula. Ate gwe ogumu taliira. Working hard ne working smart tubigatta. Bannaffe bangi beeyiye mu byabufuzi. Abamu ku ffe tuli ba keyboard warriors, kusabula misana na kiro naye batugamba okweyiwa ku nguudo. Abavumu beeyongerayo paka mu kalulu. Basuubiza abantu ensi n'eggulu. Basuubiza abaweddemu essuubi obulamu obutaggwaawo. Olubalonda amatunga baggala. Olubalonda amatunga baggala. Ababalonze ng'engalo banjala. Omuyala asindika omuyala amusaki.
First walk and see if the heater is on. Electricity seems to have gone off.
Giving us his poem on the aspirations that many young Ugandans have of themselves. Of course, Uganda is one of the 4 countries where this project is being launched. Now, thank you so much for staying with us. We're going to get directly into a panel conversation about this project, and I have with me on this panel will be joined by Mrs. Elizabeth Ongom, who is from the European Union. She spoke to us a little bit earlier, and those of you who had questions for her, now would be a perfect time to ask them. We'll be joined again by Mrs. Doreen Nyanjura, who is the Deputy Lord Mayor for the Kampala Capital City Authority. She spoke to us also a little bit earlier. We're joined by Mr. Jacob Eyeru, who is the chairperson of the National Youth Council, and also Mariamu Anganze, who is the program manager. I want my panelists to just very briefly introduce themselves to our audiences, and then we can have a short conversation about this project. Do we have Mrs. Elizabeth Ongom on the call?
Oh, okay. You want me to go first? Okay.
Yes.
Let me just switch on my video. As I mentioned already, I'm Elizabeth Ongom. I work with the EU delegation in Kampala. I am responsible for EU's portfolio on civil society. And I am also the youth focal person, which means everything with the word youth comes to me. Yes, I'm a senior youth, as I mentioned. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth. Let's have Doreen Nyanjura introduce herself.
Thank you so much, Raymond. My name is Doreen Nyanjura. I'm the Woman Councillor, Makerere University, and I'm also the Deputy Lord Mayor of Kampala City. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Doreen. And now we have Jacob Eyeru, who is the chairman of the National Youth Council.
Thank you so much, Raymond, and it's a pleasure to be here with friends and with everyone that believes in young people. My name is Jacob Eyeru, like you've rightly put it. I'm chairperson of the National Youth Council, and I look forward to this conversation.
All right, and now Mrs. Mariamu Anganze, who is the program manager for the Great Lakes Youth Network for Dialogue and Peace. We will try and get Mariam as the conversation goes on, but I wanted to start with you, Jacob. Jacob, you've watched the presentation on this project. You've seen the kind of impact it wants to achieve. But to start with you, and as a representative of young people in Uganda, as the chairman of the National Youth Council, what role do you think that young people have to play in peace and dialogue in this Great Lakes region?
Thank you, Raymond. I think that first and foremost, the conversation around peace in regions where young people dominate the demographic really are conversations about involving young people. And I'm more than glad that this is taking shape. More often than not, we have had challenges with our initiatives having inclusion of young people. Recently, the IGAD Forum, which is also a collection of many of the Great Lakes countries, launched an initiative for peace led by young people. I think that in a broad sense, the realization that sustainable peace can only be guaranteed by those that are coming up to positions of influence and of leadership is a very good realization going forward in the region. As the National Youth Council, we are implementing a 5-point strategic plan for 2020 through 2025. And the second tenet of our plan is about the participation of young people in initiatives of governance and issues around peace. We think that it's important that youth are seen as very important building blocks on the. Okay.
Yeah, you can continue, Jacob.
Great. So I think we think that young people are being seen as very important building blocks for sustainable peace and sustainable diplomacy is key to the achievement of whatever it is that we're trying to maneuver around in the region, in the broad sense. More particularly to the Great Lakes, I think that there is even more necessity to involve young people in the context of the Great Lakes region because of the nature of the conflicts in the Great Lakes region. The nature of the conflicts takes two forms, in my opinion. The first is on the historical impairments of conflicted people. You'll find that most of the conflicts in the Great Lakes region are propagated based on historical nuances, and those nuances exist largely among those beyond the youth stage. So the involvement of young people in conversations that renew the face of humanity and the face of peaceful efforts then give some sort of sustainability to this narrative, because young people were not part of the framers, over 25 years ago of the genocide. Young people were not part of the problematics that came with the, most of the problems we have in Eastern Congo for Uganda's situation are not well, curated for young people, or especially in participation. So that, I'll call it innocence by young people, gives a very good opportunity for them to be advocates for peace. The second thing that I think that is very, very important to notice is that in the activity of the Great Lakes region, the demographics are making young people become the major actors of sustainable anything, whether it's sustainable energy, whether it's sustainable education, whether it's sustainable norms. Anything that brings young people to the forefront because of the demographics is going to have a very large buy-in from the population because of the realities of the number. And this project makes that very clear as it starts out. So about this, I'm looking forward to the conversations. What I'm looking forward to is how this procedure ties up with the challenges that were recognized in the reports by the International Conference on the Great Lakes, and how we can move forward with trusted bodies like the UN Committee of Experts presenting reports that were not trusted by the Security Council. I think that for me is a conversation that we need to go around, the conversation around facts in the area, the conversation around how to treat history, and the conversation around how to move forward as one people. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jacob. That's a very powerful rejoinder to this conversation. And I want to bring in Doreen Nyanjura now. Jacob talks about history. Jacob also talks about facts coming into the debate. You preside over a Kampala capital city where a lot of young people live and work, but they're getting the short end of the stick in terms of employment. A lot of the anxieties that we see of young people are the very anxieties that lead to the instability that denies peace and development of the Great Lakes region. As a leader who now speaks to some of these concerns, Doreen, what do you think that young people who are facing these anxieties can do to apply themselves to be a solution towards bringing peace in the region?
Thank you so much, Raymond. First of all, conflicts affect the young people in more diverse ways as compared to other people in our society. It destroys livelihood, dims other bright futures, and creates fear and uncertainty in our minds. Both governments, the rebel groups, militants never recruit the old, they recruit the young. And in case of armed conflict, it is the young people who are at the forefront. They are the ones who are usually crushed, either way, whether it's the government or the rebels. Yet in most cases, they are forcefully recruited or brainwashed into participating in these conflicts. Our region is even worse because we talk about child soldiers who are abducted and ordered to participate in all manners of violent acts. So in order for us to reverse this situation, we must first interrogate the historical factors that cause these conflicts and also understand the current factors that continue to fuel these conflicts. In my opening remarks, I already hinted on the fact that the Great Lakes region has been peaceful, had been peaceful not until 150 years ago, when Africa was partitioned. And interestingly, one of the countries in the Great Lakes region with high biodiversity, water, minerals, was taken as a property of one of the kings, the King of Belgium, King Leopold, who during his reign, we saw very many people killed, and we actually lost more people than we have lost in today's conflict. We need to ask ourselves, what is this conflict about? And for me, I think this conflict is about the scramble for natural resources that are in this region and nothing else. If it is not dealt with, it's not even just about the foreigners, but even our African leaders are really greedy. For example, Uganda, who should be a good neighbor to Congo, entered Congo claiming to help. We went there, a trade, and many other sorts of plans that Uganda is demanded to pay over $10 billion for our actions, for their actions in Congo. It is historical that wherever minerals are, there is conflict. The unfortunate bit is that the Great Lakes region is endowed with the highest volume of minerals across the world. In fact, if the minerals had been in South America, this conflict would be in South America. Just as there was diamond and gold in Sierra Leone and Liberia, and there was a conflict. Just as there was diamond, gold, and oil in Angola, there was a conflict, a brutal conflict. Even in South Africa, the conflict persisted up to the early 1990s because of the large mineral deposits, diamond, coal, among others. As young people of the Great Lakes region, having looked into this, we must curtail and stop this mineral curse. But to stop this, we must have a body of fight for good governance as a strong voice. For good governance is a pinnacle for good mobilization, resource mobilization, distribution, and management. When we succeed at this, even foreigners will not intrude in our affairs, and even our resources, because of this good governance. We do not need any external interventions. And I'm happy that today we are trying to broaden our knowledge, because without knowledge, for example, for a very long time, we're given a about what transpired in which, if we do not devote communication, then for me, continue dreaming about this. Kampala, at least I've taken it upon myself to share my knowledge with the young people, to fight for good governance so that together we can see peace in our region. For now, I'd like to stop there.
Thank you so much, Doreen, for raising those very important components of this debate. I want to bring in Sylvia Pimer, who is a youth officer with the Ministry of Gender, Labour and Social Development. Doreen mentions a very important point about the fact that there's a scramble for resources. And one of the latest things that we've noticed from the census is the growth, the exponential growth of young populations in the Great Lakes region, particularly in Uganda. As an officer in the Ministry of Gender and Labour and Social Development, how are you caring? How are you looking towards using this growth in terms of population size of young people to address the scarcity of resources that these young people have to all benefit from and avoid future conflict?
Thank you so much, Raymond. Sylvia is my name, as you've introduced. Yes, like you've said, the population of the young people is growing and increasing every day from the reports that we see. But one thing we should know that as a government, the first effort, because of the problems, like we said, you cannot start talking about the young people without knowing what it is that they want and what is the idea of the things they need. We need as a country to first understand, is there a way we can do youth audits, development index to understand even the categories of the young people we have? Yes, we have projects on board. The government has set up programs for the young people, but I think as a country, we are looking at understanding what it is that the young people have. We have many programs on board, the MIOGA, the Youth Livelihood, and then we are also working on the National Action Plan for Youth Employment. All these are efforts to see that the young people are easily involved and are part of the development of the country. But even as that, you know, the problems for the young people, these elections exposed us as a country that we are not prepared. The young people are not happy with what is being done. We are coming with a National Youth Service Scheme. It is still for approval. This we hope that the young people from their villages, right from primary, secondary, and up to S6, the S4 and university level, are involved in small activities within their communities. Because then we have a problem of when the young people have finished university, you're asking for level of experience. But this service scheme, the things they will do will form part of that. And also the service scheme will help the young people have love for their country. They will understand their communities better. They will be able to develop local solutions to the problems that they're facing within. Yes, Doreen Honorable talks about the resources, the oil that is coming, but that's why I said we need to do an audit. In the oil that is coming, what are those qualifications needed? I was surprised when they said in Uganda, only one person could even drive the trucks that are needed within the fields, because then those audits would inform part of the skilling that is done for the young people so that they partake of the opportunities within across the value chain. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Silva. I see that the hand of Elizabeth is up. So Elizabeth, you now have the floor. You can go ahead and make your comments and remarks.
Sorry, was my hand up really?
Yeah, it looked like on the Zoom call. But maybe to ask you a more direct question, Elizabeth. There's been a lot of development aid initiatives towards improving young people, increasing the level of participation of young people in decision making to reduce sort of conflict and increase peace in the region. What's different about this project? What makes this one stand out? What does the EU value about this particular project that they think this could be the bullet point that drives peace in the region?
My goodness, what a heavy question. I think what needs to be understood is that there is no one size fits all when dealing with development aid projects. And over the years, for us who've been in development assistance for close to 25 years, you realize that it's a two-way thing, really. This project, like many other projects that are actually running concurrently with it, is addressing very specific categories of young people in Eastern Africa. Of course, we are particularly interested in, for the delegation in Uganda, we are particularly interested in those in Uganda. And there are different components of corporate governance, dialogue, among other activities. I can't say it is the one that will fix the issues of young people, but I believe, and we believe in the EU delegation, that it will make a significant contribution to start or improve a process that already exists. I think if to borrow a leaf or a little bit from what the poet expressed. There is a lot of, a large part of the success of the project actually depends on the beneficiaries and their host countries. This we cannot run away from. The poet talked a lot about the elected. He said, once the people are elected, then that's the last time you hear of them. I think it's good that we have people that are elected to public office also participating in this meeting. I think it's important for elected leaders to recognize that they're really very powerful and that they can genuinely mobilize young people for genuine development, and not necessarily for votes, but for real development. It can be whether at community level, whether you're elected at an LC3 level or a parish level, you can make a contribution as an elected leader. And many times the young people actually feel largely let down, not by the development aid, but really the elected leaders. Although at times, you know, the accusation is that those giving development assistance are aligning with leaders that are not delivering, etc. I think really we need this time to encourage our elected leaders to step out and, you know, do a bit more. It may be not just talking. You may need to appear maybe in community initiatives, voluntary activities with young people to actually try to spur something different. But again, coming back to the project, this project complements the work already existing with other projects, because every project before it's approved, we try to see where it balances and how it complements. It does complement a lot of the activities already ongoing and initiatives to do with peace building and security. And maybe one thing that I need to really underline is initiatives like this are usually accompanied by initiatives in skilling and employment creation. Because obviously, as you've had the Deputy Lord Mayor speak, and you've also heard from Sylvia Pimer, a lot of the problems related to insecurity are linked to livelihoods and incomes. So once youth are not gainfully engaged, then there is always a risk, whether it's in the urban area or in the rural area. I don't want to sort of bias the discussion in one direction. Let me just emphasize that this project is a contribution. It's not the magic bullet, as you say. It is a contribution and it complements other EU initiatives. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for that. And I want to now put Jacob Eyero on the spotlight because he's one of the elected officials on this platform. Jacob Eyero, what role do you think that young elected leaders have to play in making sure that projects like the one that just got launched today succeed in making the Great Lakes a region for peace and development in Africa and the world at large?
I'm sorry, Raymond, I didn't get the first part of your question.
I was asking, what role do you think that you as a young and elected leader have to play in making sure that projects like the one that's being launched today become a success in the Great Lakes region?
Thank you. Well, first and foremost, I've been in office for about 6 to 7 months now, actively. And one of the initiatives I've undertaken is to ensure that there is communication between regional leaders, young leaders in Africa. I think that there has been a tendency for us to just be quiet and be interested in our individual countries and just be mute on the platform that is multinational. And I think that's one of the things that is very important for us to play, to show that young people can actually lead conversations on integration, but also lead conversations that try to build synergies across borders. Then we can begin to be major players in conversations around the issues across borders. And I want to agree entirely with the notion that the young people will always be the easy meal to include in conflict areas or in starting those conflicts, because the livelihoods of those young people are the push factors for them. Anything that can bring something on the table is something that a young person will take to. And so even when we're talking about any other issues, say enslavement of young people, say trafficking, all these are issues that come out of the necessity to achieve a livelihood. So young leaders elected like myself then become the voice of reason. If we can project a voice onto our generation that shows that actually in our generation, there is leadership that can speak to an alternative setup, that's a very good first step. The second thing that I think that is very important for us as leaders now is to become a part of conversations that are cross-cutting, that are not just specific to our generation, but that are specific to the needs of the countries, such that young people now can integrate their faces and become not just leaders of young people, but leaders in the region. When you have such a situation, then it means that those young leaders can begin to have bigger platforms and access bigger platforms, not just based on being young, but based on having the requisite qualities of the leadership that the region needs. I think that that's one of the most pivotal needs that needs to come to the elected young leaders, that we are being submerged in the imagery of being young and not being able to provide something that goes beyond just that framing. And I think that that's where I would like it to start. So if we can get young people, elected leaders, if we can get the leaders of Rwanda, the Rwanda Youth Council, if we can get the leaders in the Democratic Republic of Congo, and start speaking as young people to big issues that distort the region and disturb the region, to issues that are affecting the very livelihoods that we hope to earn, then we can begin to be seen as leaders of a region substantively. And I think that's where, for me, the role starts and is most pivotal. Finally, Raymond, I think that in building a society that entrenches the role of young people in leading positive change, you need elected youth leaders to be the part. I think that if the young elected leaders present an image that makes young people look like they cannot really offer leadership, then you have a problem. So I hope that in this program, we are also going to be helping in building the capacity of elected young leaders. Yes, it is easy to say that we want young people to lead, and it is easy to say that the elected ones are there. But the question of capacity, I've come to appreciate, is a necessity that we need to give due attention. And if we are going to build necessity around young people, then it might perhaps be very pivotal for us to ensure that the elected young leaders themselves have the capacity, because they are building a following, they have a following, and that mass following must be granted some sort of quality when it listens to its leadership. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Jacob. And I want now to move over to Doreen Nyanjura, who's another young elected leader on this call, the role that young leadership has to play in making sure that projects like this are a success, but also your concluding remarks, Doreen.
Thank you very much, Raymond. I think a lot has already been hinted on, and like I have said, I'm happy that we have already started on this dialogue. And of course, as young people, honestly speaking, we also have our challenges, and to specifically talk on behalf of the young leaders in Uganda. There's a tendency of us being brought in discussions as if we are at the peripheral, as if we don't really matter. And, recently I was asking someone that I've been called young since I was in my 20s, since I was in my 15s. There's this tendency of us wanting to remain young forever. And whenever we come out to speak, you're told, no, let the elders decide on your behalf. So I think as young people, we need to join our hands together, and so that projects as these do not simply die on arrival. We need to put our political party differences aside, and then clearly we can achieve some of these things that we want. Personally, like I have said, for a very long time, I have participated in fighting for good governance. I've participated in fighting for accountability in this country. Is if we do not have
I think that the internet of Doreen is failing there, but I'll allow Sylvia Premier to make her concluding remarks as we try to get Doreen Nyandura to conclude, and also have Elizabeth get ready to make her final remarks. So let's listen to Sylvia Premier.
There's nothing more that we can do. I must not achieve anything. So my efforts for now, but also.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much. Mine is just for the conclusion is that when you're talking about that dialogue, that's I wanted to add in some points. Normally, when we are talking about intergenerational dialogue, we have a challenge of bringing in 50 people who are beyond the age bracket and like 10 representatives of young people. But my thinking is that with this project, to have meaningful dialogue, can we go beyond the normal? Have dialogues from grassroots level and then to the national level. And then the dialogue to bring in change is from within the districts. That's why I asked about the sustainability plan. Within the districts, who are the people who would be part of the dialogues? Who are the people we want to influence? What are the changes we want across the different levels to be engaged in? And then, yes, ours is to thank, and we appreciate that would be part of this project. And that, like Jacob said, capacity building is key across board. Even the people to create the spaces for the young people to be engaged. There's need for them to be, for their capacity to be built, and then to involve all partners and the religious leaders. We tend to forget the religious and cultural leaders, but we have gotten to realize that those play a key role. The platform they have really plays a key role in the change that we normally want to see. And yes, the ministry would be glad and open to work with you at all levels, from the ministry to the district levels, which is the community-based department, and then the sub-county chief. But also the government has come up with a program-based budgeting, where now issues of governance, human, are all falling under human capital development, and then the mindset change, to show that this is a ready initiative, and it is, like Elizabeth said, to complement what is going on, and believe that working together we'll be able to get greater results at the end of the project. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Silva. And now Elizabeth, if you could give us your concluding remarks, and then we can get done with our call for today.
Thank you so much. Still hoping you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you, Elizabeth.
I will say what I usually say to partners, to project implementers, to project management teams. I will ask that the project management team really listens to the stakeholders, and where necessary, if there is a need for change in a couple of activities, that this be considered. And with projects, like I said, some of us have been implementing such projects for nearly 25 years. Where there is a need for adjustments and changes, this needs to be discussed and put on the table and possibly considered. Nothing is cast in stone, maybe except the budget. So I think we need to be careful. Already we've had, about participation and inclusion of many other stakeholders, and ensuring that all voices are heard. So we cannot not take this serious. For me, that is one of my final remarks. And finally, I wish you all the best, happy or good implementation. I thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Elizabeth, for those concluding remarks. I just want to ask everyone on the call now to just switch on your video for a short 1 minute so that we can take a group photo for everyone that's been joined on the call. And after we take that group photo, we can then say goodbye and watch a final launch video of this project. Thank you so much for staying with us. It's been a good 3 hours of conversations. Thank you so much to our partners, the European Union, Konrad Adenauer Stiftung, Leo Africa, Cornerstone Development for Africa, the government of Uganda, the Kampala Capital City Authority. Thank you so much, everyone who's been on this call. And now I think that that's the picture that we're going to take. I see that everyone's camera is now turned on. If you could just smile so that we can capture you smiling in this Zoom picture. This is the new world that we have to be forced to live with now, since we don't have group pictures anymore. Exactly. That should be it. All right. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us and being part of this conversation. We'll leave you with a short launch video. Have yourselves a good day.
What's the